Hello, children. A big, warm welcome to our very own channel, Ammu&You, where Ammu is again ready with another story for you. This story is a folk tale and is a folk tale of China. The name of the story is The Loving Nightingale. So long time ago in the country of China, there lived a noble emperor. He had a porcelain palace and beautiful royal gardens. And the gardens were considered to be the most beautiful in the world. Travelers from far and wide came to see them. And beyond the royal gardens, there was a deep forest. And in that forest lived a nightingale who sang so beautifully that when the travelers heard them sing, they were captivated by her melody. They had never heard such beautiful and melodious singing before. One evening, while reading the traveler's accounts, you know what the traveler's accounts are? When travelers visit from one country to the other, they go back and write about it. And that is read by others. Now, the emperor would read his accounts, the accounts of his kingdom and his palace that was written by the various travelers. And when he was reading them, he read about the nightingale. He was very surprised. He called his prime minister and asked him, "Is there a nightingale in my empire?" Now the prime minister said, "I have never heard of such a bird. Your Majesty, I don't know what a nightingale is." The emperor said, "Find out about the bird and let me know in the court by evening. What is it that has been written about in this account? I would like to know." The prime minister went on asking every courtier about the nightingale, but no one had ever heard of her. At last, a maid working in the kitchen said, "Yes, there is a nightingale who lives in the forest near the palace garden. And I have heard her sing many times. She sings beautifully. Take me to the nightingale at once, and your job will be permanent," said the prime minister. He was so pleased with the maid because the maid had seen the nightingale and heard the nightingale and was going to take him to really have a look at the nightingale. Now, the maid took the prime minister to the forest and pointed to a tiny little gray bird that was singing perched on a bough. "There she is, sir, singing. Her sound is so sweet and melodious. Her song sounds like the tinkling of tiny glass bells," said the prime minister. Now, when the singing was over, the prime minister told the nightingale, "Little nightingale, I have come here to invite you to the emperor's court this evening. The emperor would love to meet you and hear you sing." The little nightingale said, "Sure, I will be very glad to come to the court today evening." The palace was being decorated with glittering lights and colorful flowers. And in the evening, the little green nightingale flew into the palace. The whole court was there to listen to her song. The nightingale sat on a golden perch made for her in the middle of a huge hall and sang. Her song was so sweet that it brought tears to the emperor's eyes, and the courtiers were all enchanted. The emperor was so happy. He immediately gave his gold slipper to wear around her neck. She said, "This is of no use to me, Your Majesty. I have seen tears in your eyes while listening to my singing. That is enough a reward for me," said the nightingale. And the nightingale flew away. The emperor was so pleased that before the nightingale flew away, the emperor requested her to come and stay in the royal garden. So the nightingale began living in the palace of the gold, in a golden cage with 12 attendants to take care of her. Time passed, the nightingale would sing every day, and the emperor would always feel his heart well up with joy. One day, the emperor received a present from the Emperor of Japan. It was an artificial nightingale studded with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. It looked beautiful, and it was an excellent craftsmanship. "This is so beautiful," said the emperor. And to his surprise, the artificial bird started singing. The singing was very similar to that of the real nightingale. Now, the emperor was overjoyed. He said, "Now, this bird will also sing along with the real nightingale." But that did not match, because the real nightingale sang in her own natural way, whereas the artificial bird sang only set tunes. So the artificial bird kept singing alone, repeatedly and tirelessly, whereas the real nightingale could not sing the whole day. It would get tired and would stop singing after a while. So the king said, "Let this bird keep singing the whole day, because it just never stops, whereas that one stops." Meanwhile, in the palace, with the artificial bird singing all day, no one had noticed that the real nightingale had flown out of the window back to the forest. When her flight was discovered, the emperor was very angry. "How dare it leave the palace without my permission? Banish her from my empire." And soon the real nightingale was forgotten by everyone in no time, whereas the artificial nightingale kept on singing all day, day after day, day after day. One evening, when in his room the emperor was enjoying the tunes sung by the artificial nightingale, suddenly there was a sound, "Whizz," and the artificial nightingale stopped singing. The emperor tried to turn it up and down, but the music did not restart. Troubled, the emperor called for a clockmaker. He examined the bird and repaired it too. But, he said, Your Majesty, the birds' barrels are worn, and if they are replaced, the melodious music will be lost. The clockmaker warned the emperor. He said that since it's a machine, we can replace it, but there won't be any melodious music out of it. What could the emperor do? 5 years had passed just like this, without any nightingale singing. The real one had gone away and the artificial one was conked off. So, one day, the emperor was seriously ill. He lay there on his bed, cold and pale, and everyone was scared that the emperor was going to die. Now a window remained opened for the moonlight to come in that shone upon him, and the artificial bird always sat there near his bed. One night, the emperor was very, very restless and felt troubled. He felt a strange weight on his chest. He opened his eyes and he saw death sitting on his chest. Death? Oh God! How did death come? It had a pale face. It wore the emperor's golden crown. And all around the bed hovered many faces, some ugly, some pleasing, and all the faces stared at the emperor like this, asking several questions. And all this scene disturbed the emperor very much. Someone please play some music. I do not want to hear what these visions speak. I want peace. But who would play the music? There was no one. And death stared at him with cold, hollow eyes. The emperor was very, very disturbed. Suddenly, sweet music filled the room. Outside on the bough of a tree sat the real nightingale singing. Hearing that the emperor had taken ill, she had come to see him. And as she sang, all those strange faces, those visions disappeared from around the emperor. The emperor's body slowly started feeling strong, enchanted by the song being sung by the real nightingale. Even death, with its coldness and horror, flew off the window in the form of a mist. Seeing death fly out of the window, the emperor smilingly said, "Thank you, little bird, my little friend. I had banished you from my kingdom, yet you came and drove death out of my room, saving my life. How can I ever reward you? The tears in your eyes when I first sang to you were my reward, Your Majesty," said the nightingale. "Sleep well and grow strong again. We all love you and we all need you." The next morning, there was bright sunlight and it streamed into Emperor's room, waking him up. He saw the nightingale still sitting on the bough. "Please stay with me, my little bird. Don't ever leave me," pleaded the emperor. "I cannot live in the palace, but I will sing to you every evening. but no one should know about it. I will come and sing to you, promised the nightingale, and it flew away. Soon the servants entered the emperor's room, and they were all so surprised to see the emperor sitting up on his bed, smiling. Your Majesty has recovered. Our Majesty has recovered. Thank God, our Majesty has recovered. The news spread like wildfire all through the kingdom, and everyone rejoiced. Only the emperor knew what was the reason, or rather, who was the reason of his recovery. And he thanked the little bird, the little nightingale, for its selfless love from the bottom of his heart. The loving nightingale would come every day and sing to the emperor and fly away. I'm sure you love the story of the loving nightingale, children. You know, what next? Like, share, subscribe. Watch the video as many times as you wish to. Try narrating the same story in your own words to your friends, to your parents, to your family. They love it. They will love the fact that you have narrated a story to them. Try it out. And do what? Be as loving as the little nightingale. Wait for Ammu again till she comes with another beautiful, loving story for Ammu's loving children. Thank you for listening to this story, children. Be good, be loving. Bye-bye till we meet next.